Sunday night sound session with John Moore and DJ Hyphen on Cube 93.
Alright, y'all, DJ Hyphen and J Moore, Sunday night sound session right now. We got a legend in the building.
In the bus.
Yeah,
on the bus.
Exactly, on the bus.
This is like watching Run DMC and Crush Groove do King of Rock. Like, you guys complete each other's sentences.
We're doing Kid Play.
I'm gonna grab some popcorn and just watch the movie.
No doubt. Questlove in the building.
Yeah.
I guess the proverbial building on the bus.
Yes.
You guys are out here in Seattle performing with Erykah Badu, and of course, you know, you guys are known for extensive touring. Perhaps to the point of just utter exhaustion.
On average, how many days out of the year are you guys on the road? And the second part of that is how much of a toll does that being out take on you physically, but also just maybe even emotionally or in your personal life?
I'll say that peak season, which is when the album is out. So about 8-9 months afterwards. And the year that album gets released, I'll say that we'll do about 225 days on the road.
That's right.
You know, it's the chapter, the book is constantly getting rewritten year by year. But I will say that to a lot of new jacks, especially the one that I have my eye on the most is Wale. You know, and I'm on him like a bad rash about really, you know, like just making sure that he don't make the same mistakes that I could have. You know, when I got my advance, I went out and brought like 40 pairs of sneakers. I was walking up and down the ghetto like the ghetto Billie Jean, throwing dollar bills inside of bums' cups, watching them glow in their white tuxedos. I was stupid, and then a week later I was broke. So pretty much, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
It's a relaxed interview.
Pretty much, the rules are getting rewritten because now, I mean, it's one thing when you're like 19 and 20 doing this.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother thing when you're like 40, approaching 40 and doing this. And it's like, one of the things I'm really adamant about is not being that near 40-year-old hip-hop act that's just like going through the motions. Like a lot of the acts that I see after they turn 35, they sort of just like, they phone it in from home. Right. But I think probably this we work probably more, we probably work harder on this record than we've had any, probably since Do You Want More. And what was even harder was the fact that we made this record in 5 months, which is unheard of. Like each Roots album has taken about 1.5 to 2 years to make.
So how come this one was so much faster than the other one?
Because the whole idea of like an album in 3 years and an album in 3 years, that's out the window.
We were having that conversation about that too, like kind of relating like linear time in terms of translating that into hip-hop time. It's like hip-hop time is like equivalent to dog years. Like a dog year in hip-hop is about the same, except, you know, you wait a year, 7 years,
People forget.
no doubt. In this market, you gotta...
And especially with us, because the thing is, the reason why the turnaround time was so long between records, like between Philadelphia and Things Fall Apart was 3 years, between Things Fall Apart and Phrenology was also 3 years, is because when you put the record out in the marketplace, then you gotta go and basically do shows in all those markets. So by the time you hit America 3 times, and there's 3 different Americas. There's the America that you could do on your own with the most and the quality and a common in tow.
Yeah.
But then there's America you hit when you're rolling with Dave Matthews and Tom Petty. And then there's America that you hit when you hit Erykah's tour. Like Erykah's run is more like conservative, professional, black people, 35 to 50.
Yeah.
That Monique crowd,
No doubt.
that Steve Harvey crowd.
No doubt.
So that's right. That's her demographics in some cities. Like she's really red state, even though she's a wolf in sheep's clothing on some blue state thing. Yeah. Her audience is red state. Yeah. Whereas then when you turn around and you tour with either Mars Volta or Gym Class Heroes or the Chili Peppers, you gotta bring a whole new another show, same territories, but just a different audience. So then that covers your collegiate, older, smarter than thou rock fan, which is like basically 29 to 34, sort of like the white version of Erica's crowd. No doubt. But then, sort of the battlefield that we built, that sort of mature, non-commercial hip-hop fan, you know, that middle line that we always played, you know, being with the Commons and the Mos Defs and the Qualis, then you got to do that on it. So you basically got to do America 3 times. You got to do Europe twice. You hit Asia in early January. Any place that's under the equator, you basically are hitting from January to March. That's their summer months. Like in Africa, people don't know that the spring and summer months are from October till about April. Even winter in Africa is really like 60 degrees, 70 degrees. You know what I mean? So you got to do South America in November. You got to do Asia in January, February. You got to do colleges. Like there's a touring season. Yeah. And it's the equivalent of, I call it like that board on Mario Brothers where you go through the tunnel and there's 100 coins. Right. You basically have to gather quick. You gotta get there before Lupe gets there. You gotta get there before, So, like, we're very lucky with this tour because right now, 3 of the biggest black tours are running this season. And they're expensive. Kanye's expensive. Jay-Z and Mary J. Blige. And the R&D and Common about to start touring. So we hope that we left some room for them because basically, like, all of us have the same agent. True. And all of us are going to the same markets. Okay. And, fans, I see online, like 4 different tickets. Yeah, it's like,
not with the economy right now.
Right, exactly.
And you got to pay for gas to get there. And the park.
All right, so how does the new album, Rising Down, kind of fit into today's hip-hop landscape? Or maybe even just music landscape? You mentioned 3 different crowds.
It doesn't. It's sort of, Rising Down is the defiant sort of stance. My whole thing, which actually leads into the Al Green record, my whole thing is, and this is what we told Al, like, I think it's less important for you to try to reach a certain audience. Because initially Al was talking, I'm going to reach the kids. And, I happen to have a billboard in front of me.
That's not happening.
Right, I had a billboard in front of me. I'm like, unless
Hurricane Chris.
Right, I'm saying, unless he competing with Soulja Boy, and unless he competing with Webby and T.I., we can get crunk for you, but I don't think they'll buy that.
I'm not happy.
So I think at the end of the day, it's just better to do what your audience feels familiar with. So, we kind of applied that to us. I think with this record, because of sort of the sort of dismay over hip-hop being real apolitical right now.
Yeah, because this kind of carries off where the last album let off, right?
Well, no, see, the difference between Game Theory, there's a big difference between Rising Down and Game Theory. Game Theory is more or less, like Game Theory is to me, the equivalent of that first moment you saw your gray hair or your receding hairline in the mirror. That day you never thought would come. Like you're looking, fuck! That was more or less like a self-examination, right?